whatever time you will receive this is meant to be a trailer, but because of the kind of series that I'm putting together, I'm going to call this a link between what we talked about last week and what's coming next week. I agree with our media team of St. John's that our sermons need to be 10 minutes. I wish that my sermon could be 32 seconds in competing with the adverts of our world, and the new normal is going to reduce the time of sermons, and especially series. So this link connecting up with what we talked about in terms of praying through the Psalms and the scheme that Walter Brigham puts together of being securely orientated, as what we talked about last week, and I attached it to the Jewish people's hope of what it means to be securely oriented, and that is summed up so beautifully in their understanding of the shalom from Jehovah, that every Jew will have his or her own property. On the property they will have their own olive grove, and on the property they will have their own vine tree, and that would be a total completeness of the shalom of God. Then they would be saying we are experiencing the shalom of God. But like all South Africans and all people all over the world, shalom of material things, of land, of production, your own production on your own land, is not something that we easily get from our governments, from our nations, from the people who are put in power to govern us. They promise us that, but inevitably a huge percentage of people in every country never ever attains to that. And that is in some ways is sad, but according to the Jews, that is the shalom of God. And so for many people all over the world, the shalom of God is never experienced in their lifetime as material blessings of land, primarily land, and then the ability to produce on your own land and to have that to pass on from one generation to another. This is true of South Africans. This is true of me, a South African. And so for a lot of us, we experience the shalom of God in different ways, in a sense of spiritual shalom, in a sense of happiness that comes from other things, primarily contentment, and primarily also trying to strive to get to the place where, against all the odds of your government and your officials and multinationals and multi-corporations and middle management and senior management, you strive hard to try and get to that place of receiving the shalom of God in your land. As you were aware of last week, the being securely oriented does not mean that you get to a place where you grow, where you are challenged and where you are pushed. You have that, and lots of people who have that are still lacking in a deep sense of peace and happiness. And so in preparing for next week, where we talk about being painfully disoriented, I have in my own life, my own experience of having been painfully disoriented by having the House of Representatives, which in the heyday of apartheid was the government that looked after colored people, overseen by Afrikaners. I had the House of Representatives fail to process my application for a house because my surname was Singh, and as far as they were concerned, that should have been the application that has gone to the House of Delegates. That's another story for another day, which I will share with my congregation, with you, this congregation that you're receiving this, but in more detail. I've also had the painful disorientation of being diagnosed with SLE. And of course, that has its own particular challenges in one way or another. And then you, the congregation of St. John's, and all those that I've served, I've shared with you the painful disorientation of 7 Little Crescent in St. John's, Pinetown. But let's have Walter Brigham lead us into what are the possibilities when we talk about being painfully disoriented. He says, So first, the reality of chaos, disorder, disorientation. Each of us knows about that in our own life. It may be a visible issue like marriage failure or loss of a job, a financial reverse, the diagnosis of the doctor, or it may be nothing more than a crossword, a disappointing letter, a sharp criticism, or a minor illness, or it may be the disturbance of a public kind, anxiety over the loss of energy, revulsion at the sickening spectacle of war, the sense that the world is falling apart before our very eyes, the unspeakable horror of a possible nuclear war. It may be the discovery of loneliness or the sense of being rejected and unloved. Or any of these is the awareness that life is not whole, that it is not the romantic well-being that we may have been comforted with as children, and that is so shamefully and shrewdly reflected in television ads. Indeed, the world is dangerous, a frightening place, and I am upset for myself. And when I can move beyond my own fear and grief, and when I do not look far to find the hurt and terror in others, whether these others are my own friends or family, I see and hear about in the media, painfully disoriented. I hope you will join us on Sunday the 24th as we unpack that primarily from Psalm 68. God bless.